Writer and director Hillia Aho is a proud queer filmmaker, and her film In Passing is a deeply personal reflection of her life and work. The live action short film has been selected for the world premiere in competition at the Oscar-qualifying Tribeca Film Festival. Now, In Passing was selected from over 8,000 submissions, with its 3 screenings selling out in just 30 minutes. Her work explores human connection, solitude, and our relationship to the natural world. And she exercises her roots in visual art with her incredible style, often incorporating practical effects. Now, she holds a bachelor's degree in media arts and culture and is currently a graduate film thesis student at NYU. Her short, In Passing, is a film that makes you investigate your own home and see whether you choose love over work or vice versa. Now, this powerfully moving film is a must see. So let's welcome writer director Hillia Aho and her film In Passing to the show. Welcome, Hillia.
Thank you. Hi.
Well, I have to ask, what was there a particular film that touched you that ignited your passion to pursue a career in filmmaking?
Um, Not really. I think, I've got my favorites ish. I think that was interested in filmmaking more just because I was interested in art as a kid. And then when I got to college, it was kind of like I kind of fell into the media classes, and that's what I enjoyed most. So I thought maybe it's my best bet for actually having a career in something creative.
So, with your film In Passing, you wrote the script and directed it, correct?
Hmm. Yep.
Well, where did the idea come from for this film?
Um, I originally wanted to write about burnout. So it originally started out as just a couple, and they have opposite schedules. So one works days and one works nights, and they barely get to see each other, but they're kind of cohabiting in the same space. And then I also just had this image in my mind that of like somebody kind of crawling out of a painting covered in blue paint, and I wasn't sure where to put it or what it meant. And then because it's called the third year collab project at NYU. So it's a collaboration between the grad acting, grad design, and grad film departments. So we had to use actors from grad acting, and then we got to work with the designers. So I was trying to find ways of making it a bit more of a production design heavy project, and it just ended up really, I don't know, I meshed the two together. So I've got, the visual didn't go as far as it was in my head, but I think we found the
Well, I'm going to make a comment about the blue paint visual in a minute because I don't want to give everything completely away here, but we live in a world where there are more creatives than ever. And I think a lot of times the creative spirit within people was probably for millions of people were birthed through and caused by the pandemic. A lot of people stuck at home and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, there's probably dreams that they pursued that they never had time for. So we have more creatives than ever. And I love this contrast in the film. You have one character that is a full blown creative, and someone's working from home, but then their partner is either at the office or, in case in your film, the demanding environment of being a sous chef. So I loved the contrast between those two. I think you really picked the far ends of the spectrum from left and right, which I thought was brilliant. Were there certain elements of the film that you had pulled from your own life experiences?
Yeah, I think it ended up being, or it does seem very personal when I just give the facts that like I paint, and my partner used to work in the restaurant industry and used to be a sous chef. I more picked it because therefore, because she could tell me like all of her horror stories and all of the specifics, I didn't have to like do my own research into something. um but therefore, yeah, it ended up becoming something that was more personal. I don't think that because we like she's not working in that anymore and she kind of stopped when we got together and it's not directly personal, but it's definitely I think that the experience of trying to be a creative when and like it's very like I spend a lot of time working on stuff for me, especially as a student, because I haven't had to do it for money full time yet. So it's just like all of these personal projects, and I can just spend, I work hard, but it's all stuff for me versus the contrast of, yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
no, I can completely relate. I mean,
yeah.
because there's a lot of work that I do that in reality it's just for me, okay? It's just the way when we work in media or a creative environment. But for you writing the script, was it an emotional journey?
I'd say yes. I think this script writing process was unique in that I was writing while rehearsing. So it was cast in early stages. Like I just had to come up with a script that would work with the age group of, and then I met I wasn't even in person for their audition videos, but like all of the grad actors had monologues, and then I kind of chose who I thought would be best suited for the roles, but then kind of had to, you know, fit it to them. But then we would meet every week and we would read the next, rehearse the next version of the script. And then I'd go away and make notes. So I recently had started on another project and I was writing and I was like, why is this so hard? And then it's like, oh, right. Because the last one that I wrote, I knew immediately whether it worked or not because I could rehearse while I was writing. So, um,
Well, you
yeah,
know,
that
your
answered.
directing skills really showed the emotion from each character, which I loved.
Yeah.
Was there any difficulty in getting the actors to bring forth the message that you wanted the viewer to feel as if they were walking in their shoes? You know, maybe see in passing in their own lives.
I think both Kai and Fedra did a really amazing job and were very receptive to kind of going deep with the character. And uh, I didn't experience any difficulty there. I think that most of, I tend to be very like, rehearsals are like half about processing and just like talking about the character or these scenarios or like exactly what the effect that we're trying to have is versus time spent practically doing, which I know is very important as well. But
Well, you know,
yeah, I think that we all had really strong understandings of the characters and the theme going into it.
in the film, I can see love, I see care, aggravation, frustration, um, distance, emotional distance, as I would say, financial worries, definitely tension, and yes, even respect, which I see that comes later in the film. I mean, for you and being a director, what was it like to deal with so many emotions within a short film?
I mean, short film is always difficult because you're always cutting away things that you want to include. Um, yeah, I think because, and I cut scenes as well afterwards. And I mean, yeah, it's a challenge to try to do something like portray complexity in such a short period of time. But I think just finding like the small subtle moments that feel like little pieces of things taken from real situations in mine or others lives and then just like thinking about it and infusing it with like all of I don't, yeah, I'm not sure. Sorry, repeat
Well,
the.
well, no, because like what I guess one way to explain this film is like looking at a puzzle. at first you have a puzzle that's, let's say, half finished, and you have all of these other pieces that need to come together. But as you're looking at it, you start to see each individual piece standing on its own. And then finally, as the film is coming to the close, all those pieces finally come together. And that's really one way to explain this film. So many people pass each other in their own homes, but careers start creating a disconnect. Many times relationships, and this film shows it, how a relationship can become very lopsided. I even saw resentment within this storyline, which I think a lot of people really need to take a very hard look at, because I think it's the resentment that in today's time can rear its ugly head in relationships. How important was it for you to show that resentment uh, kind of blossoming between the two characters?
Yeah, I think I, as a storyteller, I tend to shy away from plot, I'd say. So I feel like the resentment is the tension in the film. So it was very important to include, just to have something, a bit more interesting, where it's like you don't know exactly what's going to happen. And um, yeah, I just think it's an interesting thing to explore, that it's kind of, the idea is that these two people would be, are, as perfect as they could, like two people could, they are very compatible, they have a beautiful relationship, but that this outside force has kind of come in and um yeah, built resentment where there wouldn't be, without that pressure to make money.
Well, let me
And
ask you this, Hillia, because as when I was watching the film, I watched it a couple of times to really grasp what you were trying to do and say within the film and the characters. Uh, the sous chef seemed to resent her artist partner's easygoing creative career a bit, because she's under so much stress, and her partner is at home enjoying the natural sunlight from the windows and being creative and being free, and not having her feathers ruffled by daily life or a demanding job. Uh, did I get that element right?
yeah, I think it's, I was kind of playing within it, thinking about like the privileges that come with being able to uh, be a creative. But I also think that the challenges are just, they are very different. So when you're really engrossed in, one world or the other, it can be probably difficult to kind of, to fully understand what the other person is going through. So I think that creating that contrast was, uh, it was just an interesting way to explore that idea. Um,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think one of the things that you really brought to life, and I'm hoping that when people watch this film in passing, that in a relationship, people need to stop assuming what the other person understands what you're going through. A lot of people in a relationship will show anger, resentment, snide remarks, being sarcastic, being aloof, being distant, and they're expecting their partner to kind of understand maybe the disruption or the pain, the struggle that they're going through. Because the sous chef is like, I got to pay bills. I got to take that shift. Money doesn't grow on trees. And in a way, she almost seemed like she was putting her partner down for being this free going creative, like you're not pulling your weight around here kind of thing. And I felt that.
Yeah, I think it's, it's also kind of a displaced anger at a lot of people are kind of in jobs that they feel very taken advantage in. I think that, yeah, like my original intention to make a movie about burnout, um, and just having to work and feeling like you can't, if you have a problem with somebody at work, you feel like you can't really solve it there, so then you bring it home, and then you kind of hide it, and then it eventually comes out when it's not even really about, like, that's not even what it's really about.
Well,
uh,
no, that's exactly right. And I think a lot of people today, and you showed it in the film, a lot of people don't know how to express what they really want to say. And in that case of the film where there's that argument, it comes out wrong. And I thought that scene was really brilliant. I could actually feel the artist's feelings getting hurt. So job well done. Job well done in that area.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now I want to bring up the blue paint scene, and because you said that in the beginning you were trying to figure out where to put it, and when I watched that scene, I have to tell you, Hillia, I loved it because for me, it showed that the sous chef started to respect her partner's talent, her contribution, and then what she does, and I guess in some way, definitely finds a beauty in it. And then all of a sudden, the film turns towards this sense of peace and togetherness, which I thought was beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, I I think that it when there is resentment that's building, and it's usually happening under the surface, and then it's like you're kind of creating this narrative in your head about the other person, that once it comes out in the wrong way, then you kind of realize that it was unfair or wasn't exactly realistic, and then that scene is just supposed to be, um, because the sous chef character kind of snapped and things came out in a way, and then she, is lying there kind of regretting,
Well,
and realizing that she hurt her partner. It kind of opens her up to being able to take some steps back. To It was supposed to be like, yeah, like kind of refinding that love, or like that respect that you had, that you tend to have for someone early in a relationship, um and going back and rediscovering, yeah, like why she loved her in the first place, and like how her all of her characteristics that brought them together and that made this once healthy relationship have been kind of overlooked recently because of other things that are, not important.
well, let me ask you this: was there a special meaning in the reason why you chose blue paint?
Not really. It was just one of those things where I just saw it really clearly and it just felt right. Um, yeah, I don't know. I
Well,
think
I was looking at it, I'm like, okay, is there a meaning of the blue? Because I know, film directors have a tendency to put something into a film and not say anything really about it, but it may be a metaphor for something. So I was just curious if the blue meant something very specific.
I
But
think I
I
mean,
think,
well, her like little in the kind of dream sequency bit where there's the artist character is talking about her dreams, and she's talking about this iceberg, and I did a series of paintings of icebergs that were all just, I was just using blue a lot, I think, at that time in my life. And so it just felt right for the film for that reason, just because yeah. And then it became like the artist just, in the beginning starts doing this painting in blue. And it's like, kind of, I think that the blue became a bit of a metaphor for who she actually wants to be in her art, like how she wants to, it's her color palette, it's what she wants to use. But then because she's doing it for money and commissions, it's just as simple as having to, go by somebody else's palette. And then so when the blue paint is kind of coming out of the painting that she couldn't get right and that she hates, it's this kind of like, literally like the other character kind of trying to walk into her partner's like true self and what she wants for herself, and who she
And
is.
you bring up icebergs, which I think is interesting because they're white on top, but a lot of people don't understand that below an iceberg, the ice is really blue, and the iceberg's actually larger underwater. So in a way, the blue paint could also be a sign that there's something much bigger lurking under the surface of one's emotions,
Mhm.
and that needs to be, I guess, addressed. I'm not going to say corrected. I'm just going to say addressed, and then let it go from there. But for you, Helio, how does it feel to be selected for the Tribeca Film Festival?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. It was, yeah, very unexpected, and a very, very happy shock. Um, I'm, yep, trying to, because I've just come off of shooting my thesis film, so I'm trying to like get out of the shooting brain and into the like. But this is my first, I haven't really, well, I've never attended a festival in person before, so it's kind of a big a big one, big
Well,
first
well,
for me.
has this film been shown at other film festivals prior to Tribeca, or is this the first one?
This is its premiere, yeah.
Wow, talk about starting at the top of the film
Yeah.
festival world. I mean, you must have been absolutely shocked to learn that you were selected.
Yeah. No, I definitely just, you kind of submit to a couple of big ones just in case, just to feel like you check that box. And then yeah, but I wasn't.
So
There
you
was
weren't even thinking that you would actually get selected, but you just said, "At least I submitted to Tribeca."
yeah.
That is
Yes.
great. That is crazy, and I love that.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, what did you think of your showings being sold out so quickly?
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, it was stressful at first because I didn't have any tickets. So I ended up like being able to manage to get a few, but I wasn't even thinking about how great it is. It was just like,
Wait, wait, wait,
yeah,
wait. You mean you have to get your own ticket into your own showing? They don't
not
supply
for
that to
me.
the actual filmmaker?
I get to go, but like I didn't even have the ticket for my partner, uh, for example. But it's okay now. Everything's fine.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a
Yeah.
good thing because you don't want to go to those things alone because you need to
No.
have somebody there to enjoy. So and I've heard stories from others when they sit inside the theater, they're at a major film festival, their film is being shown. So are you going to be the one that kind of just looks at the floor, or are you just going to kind of look around and see what people's reactions are?
I'm trying to not be the person who looks at the floor. That is my truth. I think that's like where I land on the spectrum, but I'm trying to step out of that. I don't like watching my own work, especially around
Yeah, I can agree with that. I have those moments as well. But so you're going to be kind of like looking around the theater, maybe sit way in the back so you can kind of scan the room and check everybody's reactions to the film.
yeah, I don't know. I'll try. I'll try to be present and not in my head. Yes.
Well, I would probably predict that there should be a standing ovation because I enjoyed the film immensely. It's a brilliant work of art. I can tell that a lot of thought went into it. The casting, the storyline was perfect, even down to the cinematography. Uh,
Mm,
I loved the look of the film because it really played a role in how those characters in the storyline is perceived.
yeah. Caitlin, my cinematographer, actually just shot my next film. We just got off of a shoot together, so it's pretty cool that we're able to. I don't. Yeah, we. I think on this film particularly, and the production designer Zach was incredible. It was just like one of those weird moments where you just get so many people together who really see eye to eye and really click creatively and personally, and everyone just worked really, really well together. And it was, I don't know, it's a really lovely experience.
Well,
So
so what is next for Hillia Aho?
editing this most recent, yeah. The next film. Yeah. And I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm graduating school very soon. And
Well,
uh
wait a minute. Let me ask you something because this is strange. Okay, so you just did your film for your thesis.
mhm.
What is that like knowing that you have a film for your thesis, but your other film is going to be shown at the Tribeca Film Festival? I think they
Yeah.
should just give you the doctorate now.
Yeah, I don't it's yeah, I think when it first happened, I was like, "Oh, well that just takes all of the pressure off of the next film because I've already succeeded with the first one, so I don't have to this doesn't have to be perfect." But then it kind of became, well, it has to be even more perfect now because my last one was at Tribeca, so this one has to be like, yeah, a step up or something. But no, I mean it's all good things.
Well,
It's
you
great.
know, I think that having your first film actually being selected for the Tribeca Film Festival, I think this alone, not only does it make the resume look great, but I think that people are going to they're going to come calling. And I think that your career in filmmaking is about to take a very big upwards turn. So, again, in passing is brilliant. And ladies and gentlemen, you need to go to tribecafilm.com. Now, look, the showings are sold out, but this thought provoking film premieres on June 10th, also June 11th, as well as June 17th. Again, all three showings sold out within 30 minutes. But guess what? You can still see in passing because the film, uh, if you go to tribecafilm.com, you go online, sign up. You can view the film from June 19th to July 2nd. Okay, so I encourage you to do so. So if you are a student of film, a lover of film, want to see what other people are doing and that were selected to this incredible film festival, and ladies and gentlemen, you got to keep this in mind. It's an Oscar qualifying film festival. So I encourage you to watch this incredible film in passing. And I want to thank you, Helia, for sharing with us your brilliant film today.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
You're very welcome. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for watching the Ward Bond Show and catch the replay of our television interview on our YouTube channel on Bond on Cinema. As for me, I'll see you next time.